Hi, welcome back guys, this is your friend Caller. What if back with another fiction? What if Deku, a new Beast Alliance Transformers? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. This was the last thing we thought would ever happen. One minute we were enjoying our internships, the next we were entering a war no hero should, a war of cybernetic beast. It turns out the far-off distant planet of Cybertron. Peace had been there for years between two different factions, the Autobots and the Decepticons. During this peaceful time, the two sides united and formed colony worlds. One of this was a jungle world they dubbed Eucharis, and it was this world two new factions formed, the Maximals and the Predacons. Unlike their counterparts on Cybertron, they decided to take on the forms of beasts as their transformations. However, peace doesn't last, and soon a new war had started between the two factions, a great war for Cybertron. For ages the planet was peaceful until a unit of Decepticons had arrived on Eucharis hoping to hunt down the beast Transformers and made an alliance with the Predacons. They would hunt the Maximals together, and in return the Predacons would help the Decepticons would fight the Autobots alongside the Predacons. A Maximal got word of this and contacted the Autobots, leading a large force of both factions to arrive on Eucharis, igniting the war for Eucharis, an extension of the war for Cybertron. Soon the war for the jungle planet of Eucharis was over, neither side winning nor losing. But the Predacons proclaimed they were the ones who had won since they brought down several Autobots and Maximals, while the Predacons and Decepticons lost only a few. The biggest loss to the Maximals was their leader Leo Convoy. The next leader took a new name to reflect the ones who had helped them. So rose Optimus Primal, the main chieftain of the Maximals. He had a plan to put those who fell in the fight and take them back to Cybertron in stasis pods, slowly healing them and making their a safe fight and get Autobot reinforcements. However, the Predacon leader Galavar caught wind of this plan and mobilized his own forces to track and destroy Optimus Primal and his forces, making sure they never returned to Cybertron. The hunt for the Maximals was relentless. Galavar had followed them halfway to Cybertron when he opened on their ship the Axelin. But Optimus Primal was anything but a pacifist, so he deceived Galavar into lowering his guard as the Predacon battlecruiser the Darkseid pulled up alongside the Axelin. They were caught off guard when the Axelin opened fired on the Darkseid, heavily damaging it. After damaging the Darkseid heavily, Optimus Primal activated the Axelin's transwarp drive travel back to Cybertron as quickly as possible. Only the Darkseid was caught alongside them, making the transwarp portal unstable and unable to send them to the right destination. Once they were ejected from the transwarp gate, both ships crashed on an uncharted world, putting them all into a deep stasis as the world changed around them. With technology advancing at a rapid rate, while the main sentient species on the planet were enhanced with genetic abilities that they called quirks. And with these quirks came a new profession, the hero. And the most famous of this academies is the Japan school named UA High. It is from here where the best heroes Japan graduate, but even they are not ready for what happens next. Inside the dormant ship of the Axelin, something stirred. What happened? A young voice asked as he got up and transformed. Sentinel status report, he said, hearing nothing but static. Sentinel? He asked before he groaned. Great, Sentinel's offline too, he said as he went over to the computer, stepping over several. Okay, Rattrap, Rhinox, Eraser, Big Bot. Computer status report on the stasis pods. He asked only to get silence back. Terrific, he grunted. What is? A voice groaned as a gorilla stood up. Everything's offline, Big Bot, the Maximal said. Easy, cheater, the gorilla said, transforming. We just need to wait until everyone's online, he said. Now then, is there any way to get the doors open? Not automatically, cheater said. Terrific. And while we snooze longer, there's a chance Galavar is rallying his forces, Optimus Primal said as he frowned. Come on, let's find a way out of here. Yes sir, Big Bot. Cheater nodded and looked around. That was interesting. Izuku frowned as he laid on his bed after returning from his internship with Gran Torino while facing off against the hero killer Stain. I bet she would be pissed at me if she ever learned the truth of Hasu. Izuku frowned before checking his phone and seeing a text from the girl he was just talking about. Internship finished. Rather unique. Send pics of something later, Zoxoxo, it said, making him smile. Izuku, dinner's ready. His mother and co shouted from the kitchen. Coming, he got up and went to the kitchen when the lights started to flicker on and off. What? He asked before heading to the window and seeing it was the whole city doing it. Something's happening to the power grid, but what? He asked before everything went dark. Oops, cheater said as he looked around. Well, looks like we can't use the planet's resources, a green Maximal said, frown. No kidding, a snide voice said. Shut up, Rattrap. At least he's trying something, cheater snipped. Kid, do you know where we even are? The snide voice snapped. No one of us does, rat breath. Cheater shouted. I believe once we are outside we will learn more, Akambai said, and believe me, it will do us some good, she said, so try and keep calm and have patience, she smiled. You are right, Eraser, Optimus Primal smiled. I think that I can get the solar power unit online. It's not as good as our energon generators, but at least it's something to work with, Rhinox said. Do it, Optimus Primal nodded. And hopefully once we get power we can find out where we are, Cheater said. Indeed, Optimus said as he looked at the roof and figure out why we were brought here. All Might coughed as he leaned on the wall of his apartment. Give it to me straight, David. How long do I have? He asked. At this rate, even I'm not sure until you get back here to be scanned, David said, but it may be a bit hard for us to even do that, David said. Why? All Might asked as he wiped the blood off his mouth and had a glass of water. We found something. A weird spaceship off the coast of South America. We've never seen anything like this before. So we'll start the examinations of that after the Expo. Will you be making an appearance during that? I will. All Might nodded. Good. Melissa is going to be psyched to see you, David said. Indeed, All Might though, as he though on this spaceship they had found. That spaceship. Is it anything chance similar to the one they found in Japan? He asked. It could be, but I don't think it's a coincidence that 2 spaceships were found. Just one several years ago and we have no idea what it is or who built it, David frowned. The ancient theory is popular. All Might asked. It is, David said. Over the past month the maximal base was slowly restored more and more while they adapted to their new location. Rhinox had already been studying the planet in quirks. Eraser was already scouting the area, hoping to try and find the missing stasis pods. This planet is weirder than some of the other worlds we've seen, Cheater said as he was watching a commercial on the Holo Viewer. No idea, Rattrap said. Now how about getting off here and helping me fix the long-range system so we can find those pods? Isn't Eraser doing that? Cheater asked. Yes, but having the scanner online can help us with other things, Rhinox said. Like Energon, Rattrap stated. Fine, Cheater sighed. There's something on the planet. A darkness, Optimus Primal said as he entered the main area. What do you mean? Cheater asked. I don't know. There's something here that is pure evil. The kind of evil that can't be stopped, Optimus frowned. You think it's the Predacons or worse, the Decepticons? Cheater asked nervously. I doubt it. Maybe something related to the humans, Optimus frowned. No doubt with the genetic anomalies they have. This is different than what we have known, Rhino said. I wonder if Leo Convoy was right to make me the new Maximal Chieftain, Optimus frowned. Hey, you lead us this far, Big Bot. And I don't doubt that you'll get us home, Cheater smiled. Thank you, Cheater, Optimus Primal said, smiling. Optimus Primal approached a city. Smoke and fire were everywhere as there was debris where various buildings stood. In the middle of the destruction stood 2 men, one of them skeletal and the other one wore a mask. Roar! Optimus Primal landed behind the bone-thin man and roared before transforming and beating his chest. What the bone-thin man asked. Oh, you think a machine can beat me? The masked figure asked. You, he shouted, pointing at the masked figure before he looked around and realized that he had given himself away to the humans off frag. All I'm seeing is trees. Rattrap sighed as he looked at the scanner. There is a human dwelling in those trees, Rattrap Eraser said. Yeah, a base of operations of one team of these heroes. They call themselves the Wild Pussycats, Rhinox said using the infinite. Some more fine felines. Count me in. Cheater smirked, about to run off. Hold on, Cheater. We still have to wait until we can adapt our beast modes to look closer to the animals on this planet, Optimus said. Oh yeah, Cheater said. Still, it would be an excellent research opportunity, Rhinox said as he looked at something on the monitor. Rhinox? Optimus asked. There's a human transport, Rhinox said. I'll check it out. Eraser took off. Be careful, Optimus shouted. While she's off scouting we should get back to finding the Preds and the pods, Rhinox said. I agree, Optimus said. While Eraser was circling from up above them, the heroes of Class 1 was getting the introduction to this place. It was the usual thing about what was happening on the training camp, but there was something out there and it was making Izuku's head buzz. You okay, Deku? Uraraka asked as she and Ida walked over. Yeah, I'm fine, just a slight headache, Izuku smiled. Try not to do too much. Also drink some water, you may be a bit dehydrated, Ida told him. Yeah, Izuku said as his phone went. Oh, excuse me. He walked away a bit. Eraser was still circling, but she was unable to hear anything. But she did detect movement in the tree-filled sea below. She hovered and watched as the students were casted down into the forest. This will be interesting, she said before flying off, not noticing the little boy that was near the pro heroes look up at her. Now what? Izuku asked as the class was on guard. They knew this wasn't going to be easy as they dodged several earth beasts and were laying low to get their air back. I say we try and get to the facility as fast as possible, and then see if the teacher are there. Yaoyorozu frowned as she looked around. Hey guys, what's that? Toru asked as she pointed to a large structure in the distance. Never seen it before, Mina said. Oh, anything like it? Kirishima frowned. That's not where we're supposed to go, is it? Minda asked. I don't think so, Kaminari commented. Then let's avoid it for now and inform the staff, Ida said. Good idea. Yaoyorozu nodded before Kota panicked, making them see several earth beasts attack them. Izuku looked back at the metal structure and frowned before he was nearly cleaved in two by a nearby beast. Watch it, Deku. Bakugo shouted as he blew away the earth beats. Thanks, Kachin. Izuku nodded and activated full cowling to deal with it. I must say that was a close one, Rhinox said watching the fight. How close? Optimus asked. They were 2 clicks away from here, Rhinox showed him. We have to be more careful. I'm just glad the women of that base didn't think to check us out, Optimus said. You're right, Rhinox nodded as he checked something. Still no energon? Optimus asked. Yep, Rhinox nodded. Great. If there are no traces on this world, we're scrapped, Optimus said. The good news is that since there is no to very little energon on this world, we can detect other transformers easily, Rhinox said. Then why haven't we found Galavar's ship and crew? Optimus asked. Exactly, Rhinox said. I hope they don't get roped up into our war. No, especially if they have their own coming, Optimus said. Optimus, Rhinox asked as he looked at his friend and leader. Just something's been bothering me. I sense something evil, but not like our evil. An evil organic. Can such a thing be? Rhinox questioned as he looked over the data. I hope there isn't, Optimus said. Soon the group of Class 1 was back at camp. All of them relieved that they made it and annoyed they were told it would only take 3 hours ... for the pro heroes. Anyway, after they heard about how they were getting dinner made for them and Izuku taking a hit to his nuts, Ida asked an interesting question. Excuse me, but we saw a large metal structure in the forest. Do you know what that is? He asked, making the 2 wild pussycats nervous. We don't know what it is exactly, but it just showed up one day while we were training out here. Rising up out of the ground about a month back, Mandalay started frowning. I sent a few Earth beasts to investigate it. They deemed it safe, no poisons, no radiation, nothing harmful, so we just left it be. Pixie Bob said, so we just left it alone, considering it not doing anything to the area or the environment, she said. Eraserhead frowned and pulled Mandalay aside after they let the kids leave. Are you sure it's safe? He asked. Well, we're not picking up anything dangerous from it, Mandalay said. We even had a small group from my island out here and they didn't find anything wrong with it, she said. I see, Eraserhead said before he checked his phone. Emmy still bugging you, huh? Mandalay smirked knowingly, making Eraser glare at her. Right, don't mention the X, she sweat drop. But seriously, you two were cute together. She walked off. Shiho, he quietly growled, knowing she was Emmy's friend and one of the few who knew they dated. Maybe it was a mistake coming here. It was late after the second day of training where they had to cook their own food and the guys were relaxing. This is so soothing, Kaminari said. No kidding, Zero replied. Speak for yourselves, Bakugo growled as he his hands in hot water all day. Too bad the girls can't join us, Minta griped. Yeah, I can't cuddle with my horn buddy, Kirishima griped. Deku's got a girlfriend. The guys all hear Uraraka shout out, making their attention snap to the wall before turning to Izuku. Most of them shocked except for Bakugo, who was pissed. You mean you did it? He snarled. Yeah, so what if I did? Izuku glared back. So you do have a girlfriend? Kaminari asked, holding back an irate Minta. No, he doesn't, Bakugo. But I thought Zero started. He has a damn fiancé. Bakugo told them. Kicchan. Izuku shouted. Dude, congrats. So when are we meeting her? Kirishima asked. Better yet, how long have you known her? Zero asked. Was it love at first sight? Kaminari asked, fluttering his eyebrows. Do we know her? Mina shouted, making the guys look at the wall. Would I like to gossip? So what? I know you do, horn honey, Kirishima shouted. Love you too, babe. Mina called out. Yeah, so do we know her? Toru asked, making the guys shock and blushed. Oops. Hagakure, get over the girl's side. Ida shouted. Oh, come on, I was just here to see Ajiro. She huffed. Honey, Ajiro said. Okay, fine. Toru left and went back into the girl's side. What? Never thought you were a peeker, Mina nudged her best friend. Oh, shut up. Hagakure snapped. Hang on a minute, how does Bakugo know? Uraraka shouted. Oh, she and I were childhood friends and it was sort of arranged, Izuku shouted back. Arranged? They all shouted. Dude, that sounds like Kirishima started. A quirk marriage, Todoroki coldly said, chilling the water only to get a lot of complaints. Guys, remember this was made before I had a strong quirk, Izuku said. Be lucky you actually got one that didn't care about your quirk, Yaoyorozu frowned. What do you mean? Mina asked. Nearly every marriage arrangement I had, all they could talk about was my quirk, Yaoyorozu frowned. Seriously? They girls shouted before they heard a creaking. What was that? Uraraka asked before the fence separating the two sides fell down, making everyone turn red as nothing was left to the imagination on both sides. You think that was important? Rattrap asked as he accidentally hit the fence supports with a stone he kicked. Yes, because it was separating the boy from the girls, Eraser said, for privacy concerns. So they aren't wearing their coverings. What's the big deal? Rattrap asked as he and Eraser left the area. It is a human thing, Eraser said before she grabbed Rattrap and took to the air. Watching as a wall of ice was used to be a new divider. Remember, they are different from us. We're machines. They're organics, Rattrap said. Exactly, so they have different Eraser nodded. So you think Optimus is correct about there being evil here? Rattrap asked. You know, besides the Preds. I cannot say, Eraser told him as she frowned. She knew Optimus had a sixth sense for this kind of thing, but considering this was a new world, one where they didn't know anything much besides what they had learned, meant she didn't know if Optimus was right or not. Izuku was training the next day, trying not to think about what happened last night. Instead, he was focusing on how to help Koda with his hero issue. Problem Midoriya, Aizawa asked as he noticed the boy had stopped. I was just wondering if All Might was going to be here, Izuku replied. Aizawa sighed and looked at his student. The pros that are already here are the only ones that are coming. We're trying to maintain a low profile due to what has happened before with villains attacking UA. And sadly, as much as he would be a help here, All Might would destroy that low profile in an instant. I don't know what problem you think he can help with, but I'm sure you can do it on your own. You're a smart kid, Midoriya, so I'm sure you'll figure whatever it is you're worried about. Aizawa smiled. Thanks, sensei. Izuku bowed, going back to his training. Pixie Bob and Mandalay looked at each other, knowing what it was that Izuku was worried about. Sighing after that, Pixie Bob stepped up and announced that there was going to be a test of courage that night. Optimus was doing a nighttime scan as he usually did to make sure everything was fine when he detected something. Frowning, he brought up the readings and were shocked to find high levels of heat and poison. He frowned and then activated the alarm, making amber lights flash all over the base. What is it? Cheater asked. The humans are under attack, Optimus said. So? Rattrap asked before the other Maximals glared at him. We're helping them out. Rhinox, you and Cheater deal with the poisons. Eraser, take Rattrap to deal with whatever is making those flames, he ordered. And don't break anything. Rhinox added, looking at Rattrap. What about you, Big Bot? Cheater asked, making Optimus glare at the screen. I'm going to see what's happening on that cliff, Optimus informed them. Now remember, they may not see us as friendly, but no matter what, do not retaliate. Optimus ordered. Yes, sir. They all shouted. Maximals, right out. He shouted as they all moved. Izuku was panting hard. He had been using 12% of One for All and it did nothing. Not to mention, Koda sprayed the muscle-covered villain with water, which did nothing but irritate the muscle-covered brute. Izuku knew that things weren't going to be easy. In fact, he thought he would need to use all 100% to beat him. Forget about the backlash of his quirk. If All Might could do it, then so could he. I'm going to enjoy killing you, the villain laughed as he placed a red eye and walked closer and closer. Stay back, Koda shouted as he sprayed more water. Refreshing, the villain laughed. Now then, first the kid, then the hero wannabe, he laughed as he reached for Koda. KOTA. Izuku shouted as the ground shook. The three looked at what made the shaking. A giant cybernetic gorilla. Oh, a monkey, the villain laughed. Who are you calling a monkey? Optimus asked before he backhanded the villain several meters into the side of the cliff, shocking the two boys. Are you two okay? He asked, making Izuku and Koda nod. Good, Optimus said. Oh, before I forget, I'm Optimus Primal, leader of the Maximals, he said. I'm Izuku Midoriya, Izuku said. Koda simply said. Nice to meet you, Optimus said. Now hang on, he said. Why? The two boys said before they were scooped up by Optimus. This Optimus smiled as he charged and jumped off the cliff. Whoa, they shouted. Yaoyorozu and Yosu were facing down a monster called a Namu. Both were bleeding badly and were about to be killed as the Namu started to charge them. Well, this was fun while it lasted, Yosu said. We can't give up, Yaoyorozu declared as she created a shield. Well, it was nice either way, he flinched as he hid behind Yaoyorozu. Whoa, they heard two voices shouted, making the Namu stop dead, looking around before Optimus Primal landed on him, divided by. Midoriya, Yaoyorozu asked, blinking in confusion. Who brought the gorilla? Yosu asked, confused. Koda, you okay? Izuku asked. Yeah, Koda said, getting down and stumbling a bit, then heading over to a nearby bush and throwing up, making the teenagers recoil in disgust. Optimus said, didn't realize most humans can withstand my jumps, he shrugged. Midoriya, who is this? Yaoyorozu asked, shocked. I am Optimus Primal, the leader of the Maximals. And the one who saved these two from a villain, he said before he looked at the Namu. And I stepped on something. Is that a Namu? Izuku panicked. Yeah, it is ... or rather was, Yaoyorozu asked before a large screech was heard, making the heroes go on guard. Optimus Eraser said, landing. I have two humans safe and the poison have been dealt with, she said. Is that an eagle? Yosu asked as Eraser looked at him. I think it's a falcon, Izuku said. Indeed I am Eraser, she bowed. Eraser, where is Rattrap? Optimus asked. I left him behind as he was dealing with someone who could make duplicates out of a sludge mud-like substance, Eraser said. And the flames? Optimus asked. They were extinguished by Rattrap, Eraser said. Meanwhile, Rhinox is getting rid of the poison, she said before something drew her attention. What is it? Optimus asked before a massive shadow broke through the tree by the Matrix. He exclaimed, Takoyami. Yaoyorozu panicked as his quirk Dark Shadow had gone out of control. Calm down, Dark Shadow, Takoyami strained as they saw an injured Shoji holding onto one of his arms. We need light, Yaoyorozu said. But where are we going to get? Look out, Yosu shouted, watching as Dark Shadow dove at them. Optimus grabbed it and held it back. OPTIMUS, Eraser shouted. Suddenly the area was lit up in bright orange. Midoriya, are you okay? Todoroki asked. I am, Kaken. Izuku panted. What do you want, a damn nerd? Bakugo snapped as Yaoyorozu checked on Kendo and Tetsu. They're okay, Yaoyorozu sighed. We have to protect you. They're here for you, Izuku told them. But how did they find us? Todoroki asked. I'm not sure, Yaorazu asked, frowned. Hey Optimus, I've discovered something, Ratrap said over comms. What? Optimus asked. I'm picking up a signal that leads to where these guys came from. I think that someone lead them here, Ratrap said. A traitor. Optimus frowned. What, the students asked. Looks like it. I need to head back to base to see if I can track it, Ratrap said. Do it, Optimus said as a bright flash happened. KICCHAN. Izuku shouted as a man in the mask was holding 2 marbles. Inside those marbles were Bakugo and Takoyami. Thank you, I'll be taking that now, he said. No, Izuku shouted, reaching out before ice shot out, making the masked man let go of the marbles. Todoroki grabbed on, only for the masked man to grab the other one, which was revealed to be Bakugo, the one Todoroki grabbed being Takoyami. No, KICCHAN. Izuku shouted as a blackened portal opened, pulling them in. KICCHAN. Izuku rushed forward, about to grab him. Stay back, Deku, Bakugo said before the portal closed, making them lose their classmate. KICCHAN. He shouted. We're 10 minutes out, sir, a pilot said as a man wearing a black duster over his work suit sat in the back of the transport. Very good, pilot, he said as he leaned back and looked at the data. It had been since their last visit. So why now, and why at the training facility of the Wild Pussycats? Seriously, there were protocols for this, but they were largely abandoned in the time of Quirks and Heroes. Anyway, this was a big event and they needed to find out. OCHAKO's there. A voice pulled out of his musing as he turned to a brunette woman with blonde streak in her hair and sighed. The woman was one of the top scientists at the organization he worked for, and since this was a primary contact and incident, she was brought along. Usually she was soft-spoken and easy to get along with, until you messed with her family. Then all bets were off, whether it was a quirk user, someone quirkless, or in this case, which he dreaded, a transformer. Sora, the man shouted, making the scientist look at him. She's going to be okay, given when your rakas are like, he sighed. And what does that exactly mean? Sora huffed. Exactly what it means. Sir, I see emergency services on the ground with the other pro-heroes, students, and the Transformers, the pilot said. Take us down, the man said as he frowned. What the shit happened? Villains, maybe, Sora asked. I'm okay, Izuku said as he had his arms bandaged. Are you sure, Deku? Uraraka asked. Yeah, it would have been worse if not for Optimus, he smiled, looking at the giant gorilla who was conversing with his fellow animals. Dude, real aliens? Kaminari asked. Yeah, they call themselves Maximals, Kirishima said. They were pretty awesome. The big guy oversquashed a Namuyosu smiled, shocking the group, making them look at Optimus. It was an accident, I assure you, Optimus nodded. Dude, those things are not an accident. This is the 3rd time we've encountered them, Kirishima frowned. What do you mean? Optimus asked. Well, you see, Kirishima was about to say when a loud buzzing was heard, making everyone look up and see several aircraft land at the training camp, out of which ran out several people in military-like suits to secure the perimeter. Let's go, people, I want environmental scans, the leader said. Excuse me, who are you? Eraserhead asked as he glared at the newcomers. I'm Agent Noah Diaz with Sector 7, Noah said as he held his credentials. Never heard of them, Mandalay scowled. Relax, we're all on the same side here, Noah said. So you're the new director, huh? Pixie Bob asked. I may be, but who are you? He asked. I'm Pixie Bob of the Wild Pussycats. I'm also the great-granddaughter of your agent Tsuchikawa, she saluted, making Noah impressed. But Tsuchikawa all the way out here. I'm impressed, Sora said as she walked off the transport. Aunt Sora, Uraraka shouted, shocked seeing her aunt there. Achako, she asked, shocked at her niece being there. She then turned to Noah. I had no idea she would be out here, Noah shrugged, making Sora growl. Aunt Sora, what's going on? She asked. Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to tell you, but I want accurate scans of the transform ... Okay, that's new, Sora mentioned. What is? Noah asked. They have organics in their alt mode, she gasped. No way, he asked before checking it out and muttering in Spanish. They're also animals, she gasped. What is going on here? Mandalay shouted. Who are you and why are you talking like you know these giant machines? Because we do, Noah said as he pulled up a seat. Most of those gathered there either sat on the ground or stood. Back in the year 1984, about 30 years before the rise of quirks, Earth was visited from the stars. They were called the Transformers from the distant planet F Cybertron. Now they were divided into 2 warring factions. The autonomous robotics and the deceptive constructs, or rather the Autobots and the Decepticons. The Autobots were looking for a new world to regroup on, gather resources, and create a rally point for their troops. And it was successful. Many Autobots arrived on Earth, and during that time they made friends with humanity, Noah started to explain. In 1985, the Non-Biological Extraterrestrial Support Treaty was drafted and Sector 7 formed to facilitate the needs of the Autobots. Only it didn't last, as the Decepticon leader Megatron had discovered Earth and came here to conquer it, Sora continued. The Autobots fought bravely and managed to push the Decepticons off of Earth, but at the cost of some of their soldiers that joined Optimus here, she added, making everyone feel a bit down. That was Megatron's plan. Optimus said, destroy as many off-world Autobots as he could, reducing the resistance on Cybertron, meaning he could easily take it over. That including attacking the colony worlds to lure them away, Rhinox said. Just like the War of Eucharis, Rattrap snorted. Our planet was drawn into the war like many other Cybertronian colonies. The Predacons teamed up with the Decepticons to wipe us out and rule Eucharis, and in return the Deceptions would allow Predacons to fight for them on Cybertron. Thankfully, a small Autobot recon unit arrived when the Decepticon army did, Optimus said. And we would have lost the fight if not for one thing no one countered on happening, Rhinox added. What? Izuku asked. A Decepticon defecting to the Autobots, Optimus said. It has happened in the past, but this one was unexpected due to it being a member of a combiner team. Rhinox informed them. What? He just jumped ship? Kaminari asked. It was more common than you think, Eraser said, making them all turn to her during the war. Various Decepticons became disillusioned with Megatron's regime and either went neutral or became Autobots, she continued. The biggest one was a con named Jetfire. He was so sick of Megatron's slag that when he turned to the Autobot he destroyed Megatron's energon stockpile. He blew it to Kingdom Forge. Cheater exclaimed. Whoa, they all shouted. Cheater. Optimus frowned. What? It's true, Cheater called out. Anyway, this Decepticon's defection was good timing because Leo Convoy had just been offline. And Optimus was just made into our leader. His decision was to get our fallen and return to Cybertron to be repaired and then finish the fight on Eucharis. Eraser told them. That was the plan if old Grapeface didn't shoot it to piece, Rattrap snorted. Who are you called Grapeface? Minate shouted. Galavar. Optimus frowned. He is the leader of the predacious and self-appointed heir of Megatron and the throne of Cybertron. He attacked us on our way back to Cybertron. We were damaged heavily, making us rely on our transwarp engines to get us to Cybertron, but instead brought us here 3,000 years ago. Anyway, like we said, Optimus Prime had won and defeated Megatron. After 20 years of fighting, the war was over. They took whatever Decepticons we were here on Earth and returned to Cybertron, Noah said. So are they still fighting? Uraraka asked. We're not sure, Optimus admitted. Oh, Uraraka sighed. So what's the plan now? Izuku asked as he had his arms bandaged by a Sector 7 medic. We go after him, of course, Kirishima declared. But where? Mina asked. Most of us needs go to the hospital. Mina sadly remedied them. Group is several. Their classmates were taken to hospital with various injured, one of them being Izuku's fiancé. Well, we're not going to leave Bakugo behind there, are we? Kirishima asked. We can't be reckless, Ada declared. And if we don't, then we lose Bakugo, Kirishima shouted. I agree with Kirishima, Todoroki told them. But Ada said, what about what happened when we faced Stain? We did it because there are people in trouble, including our friend. And now our classmate and friend is in trouble now, so I don't see why we shouldn't go and rescue him, Todoroki said. Because it is against the rules, Ada shouted. Plus we didn't come out of the unscathed. Ada, I've known Kakin the longest, but I don't know if I would be able to look at him or his family in the eye ever again if I did nothing, Izuku said. But Ada grunted as he felt a hand on his shoulder. They seem determined, Yaoyorozu said. Fine, but we'll be going with you, Ada proclaimed. And me, Momo said. Sure, the others nodded. So, they are going to try and find their friend, Optimus said. But it's been 3 days since the attack, and one of them was in the hospital, Rattrap exclaimed. So, Rhinox asked. I'm going to check out the battlefield, Optimus said. What? Rattrap exclaimed. But Big Bot, you'll be revealing us, Cheater said. You heard the Autobots teamed up the humans, and are we not technically a new generation of Autobots? Their leader asked them. It's going to be there, isn't it? Eraser asked. The evil you've been sensing. It will reveal itself soon. Yes, Optimus nodded. I'll try and track down wherever he was taken, Rhinox said. Rattrap, I want you to track our young heroes, Optimus ordered. Oh no, I'm not going there, fearless leader Rattrap responded, making Optimus glare at him. Find the rat, Maximal relented. But what are we going to do? I'll worry about that later, Optimus said. I must say that is not the best plan I've heard, Optimus, Eraser said. What about Sector 7? Cheater asked. While they did help the Autobots, I'm not too sure about them for now. I'd rather we do something by ourselves, Optimus said. Yes, sir, they all nodded and looked at each other nervously. We're all going to die, Rattrap sighed. Within the next week, all of the heroes that were ready to move on the villain's hideout with Eraser overhead. They're in position, Optimus, Eraser said over her comms. Acknowledged. I'll head out myself soon, Optimus said. They're making their move, Eraser said as she watched All Might knocking on the door. However, something drew her attack so she couldn't see what happened. She did a roll avoiding a massive flying creature. What are you? She asked as it looked like a pale green-skinned human with large yellow eyes and its brain exposed. He charged at her. She flew up and then entered a dive, pulling out of it at the last second. The creature looked at her and gave an inhuman roar before flinging itself at her. Flapping her wings, Eraser gained more altitude before she looped around behind the monster and glared at it. In turn, the monster looked behind her and roared, charging at her. I'm sorry, she sadly said before she fired her plasma beam at it, while it was gaining altitude, which burned its foot. Howling in rage and pain, the monster tried to attack Eraser again, this time by latching onto her wing. She glared at the monster and deployed the blades hidden in her wings, making the monster let go, giving Eraser the chance to turn around and fire at the creature, finally downing it. "I truly am sorry," she said before she saw a massive glacier erupt. "What in the world?" she asked as she flew over there. Everyone on the battlefield was shocked when the massive glacier appeared. "You have got to be kidding me," All Might thought as he saw 3 of his students rocketing across the skies. Sadly, All for One did as well and aimed at the children. "Think again." All Might grunted as he backhanded All for One. "Bakugo, come on," Kirishima shouted, holding his hand out, making the spiky-haired blonde smile and unleash a massive blast to propel him through the skies. "No, no, no." Shigaraki, the leader of the League of Villains, panicked. The urge to scratch his neck was too much for him. "Who can do range?" Spinner asked as he looked around. Dabai and Kurogiri. "Only they're down," Mr. Compress said. "You two over here," Magni shouted as Spinner and Compress stood in front of Magni, who used her quirk to make her 2 allies magnetic. Only it shot Mr. Compress into the air. Izuku looked about. "No," he muttered as he heard Bakugo grabbing Kirishima's hands. "You idiots," he said with a smirk on his face. "Ah, guys, he's gaining on us," Ida warned as Mr. Compress was close to them. "Titan Cliff," Mount Lady shouted as she grew and intercepted Mr. Compress. "Go home, you stubborn kids," she muttered as she crashed. "Oh crap," Mr. Compress shouted as he fell to the ground. "So how are you morons getting us down safely?" Bakugo asked. Kirishima said. "I believe I can help with that." Eraser smiled, gliding under them until they were close enough to softly land on her back. "There we go. Good job, you 3, she smiled. Eraser Izuku smiled. "What are we doing on a giant bird?" Bakugo shouted. "There may have been a few things you missed out on." Kirishima smiled before a large explosion was heard behind them, all of their hearts sinking in their chests as Eraser didn't look back. "Please, Optimus," she worried. Optimus was racing through the battered streets, making sure no one saw him. He was getting closer and closer to the battlefield. The feeling of the evil he had sensed was growing. Once he was on the outer edge of the battlefield, he stopped and frowned as he watched the 2 warriors going at it. But with each fist thrown, he saw flashes of several different fights. Optimus Prime and Megatron, Leo Convoy and Galavar, himself against Galavar. "So you are that evil I have been sensing." Optimus Primal frowned as he watched on as the hero All Might delivered the biggest punch he could deliver, making a massive shockwave into the ground. Primal frowned as he saw All Might partially transform back. This wasn't going to be an easy fight. He looked around and noticed that there was a human trapped. The villain noticed this and sent a blast at the woman, who was begging for help. "No," he whispered, "he is a powerful warrior. If he was a Cybertronian, I see he would be a Prime, chosen by the Matrix," he said before noticing that All Might was bone-thin and barely standing after protecting the woman. "A Prime indeed," Optimus nodded. He could hear the silent shock in the world. The people were losing faith. "Now it's my turn," he frowned as he leapt into the air, using his jump jets to gain some altitude. Hollow cheeks and sunken eyes. "To think you were their champion, their hero, but look at you now," All for One gloated. "Now that your true form has been revealed to your adoring public, try not to feel too ashamed," he laughed as All Might glared at him, blood leaking from several places. "Your move," All for One said. "Even as my body rots and ages, even as my body grows frail," he said, gripping his fists, "in my heart I remain the symbol of peace. As long as that is what I believe, there is nothing you can do to take it away from me," All Might growled. "Oh well, I may as well give up now. But allow me to inform you of one thing. Tamura Shigaraki, my young apprentice, is the grandson of Nana Shimura, your beloved mentor. I kept wondering what it would be that would finally erode you, Golden Heart, and that is when I found Tamura and groomed him to hate you and watch as you proudly smiled while you fought your beloved master's grandson." He laughed as All Might's smile started to fade. "It can't be," he gasped as his hands dropped to his side. "Oh come now, you know it's the truth. That is clearly something I would do," All for One said. Well, where is your smile now?" he taunted. "All Might, keep going, the woman strained. "We need you," she cried out. All for One laughed as he started to ascend into the sky, laughing as dark energy crackled off of his fist. "Fear not, Miss," All Might declared as bright shiny energy crackled off of his arm. "Your hero has so much to protect in this world, which is why I will defeat you," he shouted. "That's the last of your strength, isn't All Might?" All for One laughed. "A wounded hero is a most dangerous sting," he said as he held out his right arm. "You know, I even dream of you charging at me with your entrails strewn across the ground," he laughed. "You have 2 or 3 punches left," he asked. "Now it's time to make that a reality." The villain laughed as his arm grew spring-like limbs. Kinetic booster ×4, strength enhancer ×3, multiplier, hypertrophy, rivets, airwalk, and spear-like bones, All for One declared as his arm mutated. "The shockwaves, until now, were to just wear you out. Now with this ultimate combination of quirks, I'll punch you oh hard you'll surely be ended. I wasn't certain until we exchanged blows tonight. But you no longer have one for all. All is that left is a bunch of embers about to extinguish. I bet that boy Izuku Midoriya is the one you transferred it to. And with his master, he'll die. All for one threw that punch. No Midoriya. All Might panicked before two large swords blocked All Might in the woman's path. OPTIMUS Primal, maximize. A voice shouted as a giant knight-looking robot landed in the path of the punch and caught it. What? All for one shouted. Oh, sorry, was this private fight? Optimus snorted as he let go of the villain's hands and grabbed his swords, forming them into a staff which he twirled around All Might. Are you okay? The Maximal asked as he knelt down, the symbol of peace in utter shock. I, All Might said, dumbfounded. I will deal with him. You and that citizen rest, Optimus stated as he stood up and rolled his shoulders just as the other heroes were arriving, most of them shocked to see a giant robot fighting the symbol of evil. Well, you are new, All for one asked as he lifted his fingers, making red and black constructs fly out of his fingers. You're a new wrinkle I did not anticipate. Well, I knew of your coming, Optimus grunted, just breaking them with a single wave of his arm. What is your secret? All for one asked, coughing a bit as he knew his body was at the very edge of its limits thanks to All Might. Now he had to fight a robotic foe who hadn't been fighting, which means the disadvantage he would have had was now getting bigger. Primal rushed in and landed a punch on the villain's body, the feeling of bones breaking spreading through his chest. Blood rushing out of the wounds. All for one used his combo arm and tried to punch Optimus Primal in the head. Only he moved it to the side, it being grabbed again, and he was slammed into the ground, the bones breaking more and more. Had enough yet? Optimus asked, leading to the villain to use a sonic boom to knock Optimus away back. You will not stop me from crushing the symbol of peace, All for one cried out as he created more shockwaves at Optimus Primal, who in turn spun his staff quickly to block the shockwaves. Enough, All for one shouted, his voice filled with rage as his body healed thanks to the various healing quirk he had gathered. I will end this, All for one declared. And how will you do that? Optimus Primal shouted as he clenched his fist and lifted it up to the sky, verdant lightning crackling around it. You know, there is a phrase on my world, one that is a battle cry for heroes, a phrase used by the ancients of my world when they were facing evil, and with those very words I shall now beat you. Or you see, there will be your kind and heroes will have to fight, Optimus shouted as he reared his arm back, mirroring what All for one was doing, and those words are, till all are one. He shouted, punching All for one's fist, breaking the hardened sections of his arm. You're done, Optimus shouted as he used his bladed staff to cut the arm off of the villains, blood gushing from the wounds. Well, that's just prime, Optimus declared before he looked up and saw helicopters and heroes just standing there watching him. I come in peace, he said, switching back to beast mode.